Hey there, I'm Matt, co-founder at Helpt.
And I'm David, co-founder at Helpt.
And this is the Cool Kids Table.
This isn't your typical industry podcast. We sit down with MSPs, vendors, and channel pros to swap stories, share real insights, and have a little fun.
You'll get expert takes along with sports debates and some class clown moments. It's part grade school nostalgia and part real talk about what's going on in business.
No scripts, no sales pitches, just a real lunchroom conversation.
So grab your tray and let's hang out at the Cool Kids Table.
Welcome to the Cool Kids Table podcast. I am Matt, one of the founders here at Helpt, and I am hosting with my co-founder, David.
Hello, everybody. Today, we have special guest Johnathan Schofield, otherwise known as Scofie. He's the founder, CEO, and cyber matchmaker at Find My IT Partner. Johnathan, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and Find My IT Partner?
I've been in the IT services industry for a good long while, technology space for longer than that, always through the lens of business development, sales, and in the last decade of my life, leadership, management, and now an entrepreneur, for better or for worse. FindMyITPartner.com. We are an early stage startup that seeks to connect small to medium-sized business leaders with service providers for IT, cybersecurity, compliance, and AI. Imagine if LinkedIn and Tinder had a baby that was really good with computers. And that's what we're trying to build.
And which is it? Is it for better or for worse?
It depends on the day, I'll be honest. So the curse of entrepreneurism is that I love building things, but then there's the resource side of things, and they have the constant attrition of the chicken and the egg. Where do you focus your time? Where do you focus your precious self? I'm self-started, self-funded, bootstrapped. We got big ideas and we're going to conquer the world and we're going to have a heck of a lot of fun as we do it. So it's both. It's better and worse.
Were you always like this? Or back in high school, were you just one of the jocks? Were you the class clown, or have you always been an overachiever?
I was in private school through 4th grade, and then I was homeschooled through graduation after that. So out of those 3 buckets, I'm some blend between the class clown and the know-it-all. But I think you need to add a category, the theater kid, because that would have actually been me.
When you think back to, we'll call it the school cafeteria, the kitchen, what was the favorite meal?
I do have memories of the cafeteria from my private school days, and absolutely my mom would pack a lunch. And largely triggering memories come to mind of those days. And if you're watching this, Mom, I love you and I appreciate all that you did for me. But there was a lot of tuna fish, and I actually very much like tuna fish. But the problem with tuna fish and like a sack lunch you take to school is by the time your lunch period comes around, your bread is just a soppy, gross mess. And then similarly with peanut butter and jelly, your bread had a similar fate, which definitely had a negative impact on the overall school lunch experience.
One of my favorite things about peanut butter and jelly sandwiches is when you'd have like your drink pushing against it for the 4 hours before you had lunch. That was like the panini of the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. It was delicious.
See, that reminds me of some peanut butter and jelly PTSD that I have.
Johnathan, do you have any idea what we're going to do today?
I have no clue, but I'm having fun.
That is our goal.
Class clown for 100.
You've got a master's in theater. If the IT channel were a play, what genre would it be? Comedy of errors, Greek tragedy, off-Broadway chaos, something different?
What is comedy of errors? I think it's because, a lot of times, first of all, let me preface this by saying, generally speaking, I have not found a professional community such as the Managed IT Services channel that is as generally positive, collaborative, and uplifting as ours. So I'm incredibly thankful for that and proud of it. Do we have tremendous work to do? Yes. But comedy of errors, being a Shakespeare guy myself, the friction that is avoidable that happens often between service providers, vendors, and then the end customer as well. We have a lot of work to do, I think, yet to understand each other in this space, to really look through the lens of who each other are and the real values that we have as organizations and individuals, and how we can best integrate and connect with each other and support each other. So sometimes it leads to some sitcom-esque conflict that I think often can be avoided, but certainly learned from as well. And it is also sometimes humorous and lighthearted.
I love it. Give us another one.
Let's do class clown for 200.
What's one tech buzzword that makes you twitch, and what would you replace it with if you could?
I have to choose just one. What is risk assessment, Trebek? From the business development, lead generation, sales side of the equation, which I'm more intimately familiar than any other part of this whole ecosystem, there's a school of thought that says you need to go approach prospects as a service provider and use a risk assessment as your lead magnet to draw them into the sales conversation. But if I could equate that to something like, imagine a stranger in a lab coat approaches you on the street. Hey, could I interest you in a free colonoscopy? That is what I feel like our prospects hear when we approach them with like, hey, can I interest you in a free cyber risk assessment? Now, let me ask you a question. Can you imagine that a colonoscopy has value?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. They're very valuable. Are you going to take one from a stranger off the street for free? No. What would I replace it with? Better business development sense. I don't know that there's a word to replace it. that's the first thing that comes to mind. We need to stop leading business development with this free colonoscopy approach.
So you're not even worried about that it's FUD, right? Where you're freaking people out. It's more that you're asking them to do something completely uncomfortable to try to find an in.
You think about the inner workings of a business organization, right? And IT and data and IP is incredibly intimate. And there's a reason why I believe the majority of IT providers get their customers through word of mouth and referrals, is because that trust has been brokered for them on their behalf before the introduction has ever been made. So yeah, it's an intimate, sensitive thing that we're just boldly on a cold call or first impression. We're like, hey, pull your pants down. Let me help you out. Like, what? We are not even there yet, my guy.
Why should I give you the time of day unless you give me some of that shock?
It starts with understanding in a crystal clear way who your customer uniquely is and what they value most. And then number two, knowing how to speak their language. So give me an example of any industry or vertical that an MSP might have a customer in.
Architectural.
Okay, so should architects, engineers, and construction organizations, AEC, should they care about cybersecurity?
Yes.
Of course. The answer is yes. Now, if I offer them the colonoscopy approach, I almost certainly will get shut down the majority of the time. But if I can learn to speak their language and come in and speak in terms of business outcomes, right? The idea behind it is there's a way to talk risk, to talk cyber, to talk security, AI, IT, in a language your customer will understand and doesn't have to be pigeonholed into FUD. In fact, I would argue that a better alternative would be like, let me show you how you can scale with IT, how you can grow with IT, how cybersecurity is a revenue lever you can pull in your business to posture yourself against competition in a way that's secure, compliant, and scalable, that makes you a machine that can't be denied in your industry.
I think I'd recommend the IT company with the smallest hands. Johnathan, give us another one.
Overachiever for 100.
Even the best matchmakers see a few bad dates. What's a partnership red flag you've learned to spot early, and how do you let them down easy?
This is an amazing question. I absolutely love it. When I'm talking to an SMB or business decision maker from IT or executive level, one of my questions I ask them as we're going through a matchmaking exercise is, what have you budgeted for these types of services? And due to the nature of what I do, and I don't actually charge the end customer anything, I get to be brutally honest with these folks. So they'll sometimes have no idea what they should be budgeting. When sometimes I'll get a number back and sometimes it's laughable. And I get to have the opportunity to educate them and say, hey, listen, I know that you're a 45 employee law firm. And I know that you've never worked with an outsourced provider for any of these types of services before. So when you say that you were budgeting $1,500 a month for this type of engagement, I understand that cost is a concern. You're trying to be sensitive to your budget. But just so you know, this is how the industry operates. Usually a per user dollar amount, anywhere from $150 to $450 a month, and even greater if you have high compliance requirements. Some kind of onboarding fee. You can expect a 12 to 3-year commitment that they're going to ask you for. And I share that with you because you need to understand before I ever would introduce you to one of my partners, I don't want to waste your time and I don't want to waste theirs either. So that's a big red flag if they don't have their head wrapped around budget. Actually, the red flag is more how they respond to my feedback on that. because sometimes they just don't know. They're like, oh man, I'm so glad you shared that with me. I would have gotten a proposal and been freaked out. But if they're like, people actually pay that, big red flag. You got to budget for IT and security, and if you're not doing that, that's the biggest red flag I can think of.
They don't know they need it until something happens that makes them realize they need it, and all of a sudden they're willing to pay anything.
They don't know what they don't know, and everybody has to learn at some point. It's a privilege to be able to be part of that for some of these folks. Overachiever for 200.
All right, when you look at the future of the channel, what's one thing you hope the industry stops doing and one thing you hope it never loses?
I hope it never loses its sense of community and collaboration and solidarity. You see the solidarity happen with a lot of these like large-scale cyber incidents that have happened over the last decade, and that's been really cool to see some of the folks kind of bubble to the top and take leadership and lead the community towards a better, safer, more efficient tomorrow. I hope that never stops. One thing I wish would stop is stop throwing resumes at the challenge of sales. Whether you're a vendor or you're an MSP, throwing resumes at business problems without process, and then they're shocked when these talented people fail. And then 9 times out of 10, it's not even the person's fault. It's the people who hired them that didn't set them up to be successful. I'm tired of seeing that. Class clown for 300.
You've got one open seat next to you on a cross-country flight. Who's the worst possible person that could sit there, and who's the best?
A child who is crying and flatulent. I'm an introvert, man. I am a father, so I appreciate that children need to fly, but I'd rather not sit next to them. Overachiever for 300.
Partnerships come and go, but reputation sticks. What do you want people to say about the way you show up in the channel?
I want them to say he shows up authentic, that he's down to earth and real, that he's trustworthy, he does the things that he says, and that he listens to our challenges and objectives, and that he's a resource that hears them. Overachiever for 4.
You built a career on connecting the right partners. What's one trait that separates a transactional relationship from a transformational one?
Far and away, it's trust. You're not going to let me do big things for you if you don't open the door at least enough for me to step a foot in. Yep, trust.
All right, one more.
500, overachiever.
You've said growth doesn't come from guesswork, it comes from systems and execution. What's one process you've built that changed the game for how you connect MSPs and vendors?
Local community has been something I've been experimenting with for 20 months. I've been hosting the Upstate Channel Collab here in the Southeast, having worked on the vendor side for a number of years. It was always frustrating that you have to travel so far to see peers and folks in the industry. And the reality is a lot of you probably don't even realize how many people are right in your own backyard. And I anticipate that movement expanding and growing significantly in the next 2 to 3 years outside of just South Carolina. So I'm very proud of that, connecting MSPs and vendors in my local market, and then eventually across the globe.
All right, I'm going to do my math really quick and get it wrong because that's tradition. Looks like you've got 1,900 points.
2,100.
Ooh, here is the leaderboard as it stands. Tell me which section and how much you want to wager.
Most likely to succeed,
Okay.
and all or nothing.
In 19th century Paris, some theater managers hired these people to sit in the audience and cheer, cry, or boo on cue, long before Rotten Tomatoes existed. What are they called?
Wow, that's a great question. 19th century Paris. Oh, I mean, the things are coming to my mind I know are not the right answers. The cheap seats, the plebeians, all of it's just going to be guesses. I don't know.
Something like a heckler, because that sounds like it could be a French word.
It does sound like it could be.
We lulled you into a sense of security with the easy subjective one.
He's a theater guy, no excuses.
I'm going to click the button and reveal the answer.
Clack. That seems familiar, but I would not have guessed that.
Well, you've survived the lunchroom chaos. You've earned your seat at the Cool Kids table. Where can our viewers find you? I assume your mom's watching and she knows where to find you. Where can everyone else find you?
FindMyITPartner.com if you're a business looking for IT, security, compliance, AI. If you're an IT business owner or a growth person who's concerned with finding your next customer, you can go there. I'm very active on LinkedIn, Johnathan Schofield, SKOFI, be hard to miss, or Schofield at findmyitpartner.com. Not hard to find. I appreciate you guys having me. This was really fun. Toodles, y'all.